you can lead so much better when you like going to work.
Yeah.
And if you're leading better, you have better employee retention. You actually bring in more dollars because you're not hurriedly treatment planning, and there's better interpersonal relationships. Once you aren't giving away your power for how you feel to everybody else, you can be so much more calm. You can be so much more confident. You don't have to make people do what you want in order to feel the way you want. So it changes everything. It really does.
Okay, welcome to the 15th episode of the Story Project podcast. I am your host, Joanna Scott, and I'm so excited for this conversation with one of my dear friends, Dr. Laura Mach. Before I welcome my guest, I want to tell you a little bit about her. Dr. Laura Mach is a general dentist, a practice owner, and a life coach for dentists. Through her coaching, she helps women who own dental practices to get out of stress and overwhelm. She also speaks to dental groups about better leadership and communication. Dr. Laura's entry into dentistry was quite non-traditional. After being a dental assistant and a stay-at-home mom of 2 children, Laura decided to take the plunge and prepare for application into dental school. So crazy.
I know.
I can't believe you did that. She graduated as a 32-year-old mother of 3. She has now owned her practice for 15 years and has been a life coach for 4. These combined skills, along with her history of overcoming the challenges placed on women and her cultural upbringing, flavor her engaging way of speaking and teaching other women in dentistry. Welcome, Dr. Laura Mach, to the Story Project podcast.
I really appreciate you inviting me on. I'm so honored. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh. It's so fun to have you here in person, you know, instead of like being over Zoom. It's just a completely different chemistry.
I know, I can see you and I can talk to you. There's no delay where we like accidentally talk at the same time.
Totally.
It's magical.
I know. I always like to begin with how we met. And I knew of you. We were like Facebook friends for a few years.
For sure.
Right? You're very well known in the dental space. But then I believe the first time we met in person was at Dr. Ankur Gupta, his Happy Dentist Retreat. And I also think that was maybe the first time you took the stage and spoke. Is that right?
It was my first time teaching a workshop in person.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. I was so excited.
Well, I remember that day. I remember your talk, and I took so many notes. I needed like an extra notebook. It was really so relevant and practical, even though I'm not a clinician. It was amazing, the takeaways.
Well, it really is what I teach about is so much about leadership and teamwork. And then we just put it in a dental office.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sprinkle it in with some crowns and some angry patients or
Right,
whatever.
I love that.
But it really is it's about humans talking to each other, how that can go wrong, and how you can help it go well.
Which is relevant for anyone in business,
Correct.
Working with teams and you know, leading, of course.
Yeah, and you have a team.
Yes.
And a small business.
Yes.
With goals and all that stuff. So of course, it applies to you too.
Completely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we get into your story, I want to just do a few fun rapid fire questions. And I don't think she's seen these. So they're not anything too crazy. Okay. So what has been the most fun vacation you've ever had? Fun trip?
When I took my high school graduate on her senior trip to Hawaii.
Okay. Ooh, fun.
Yes. Just the two of us.
What island?
It was Oahu. It was on the North Shore where the surfers go.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Have you always had this Zen type of voice that you have that Dr. Laura Mach is known for? Or is this something you developed over time?
No, it's just real.
Okay.
It's just me.
It's just you.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I could listen to you all day long. I think I've told you that before. She's very calming. I wouldn't say I have a Zen type personality, but I'm really working on it.
I would call you incredibly supportive and genuine. That's what I would call it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. Last, I heard that you also sing opera with your daughter. Please tell us. This is the most unique thing. How did that happen? Were you guys professionally trained or?
I always loved singing, and I was classically trained on the violin growing up.
Nice.
But I didn't get any singing lessons. But I was in like choir, church choir, school choir, that kind of thing. And when my children were born, I just really wanted to imbue them with a love of music. So we listened to it all the time, and we made music, and I would drive them to choir practice or whatever I could do to keep music in their life. And then she started taking it very seriously. And I was kind of jealous because she had this amazing vocal performance instructor. And during the pandemic shutdown, I didn't have anything to do. And she was doing classes over Zoom.
Oh, wow.
So I started taking my own lessons.
Okay.
And my daughter was getting so good, and she allowed me to do some duets with her, and sometimes we still do that. Honestly, now these days it's more karaoke than just opera, but yes, so we can. We do legit opera if we want to.
That's so cool. I love that you have like basically a hobby with your daughter. That's so fun.
It's really special to like enjoy the fruits of your labors in that way. Right?
Yeah. Well, before we get into the dentistry side of who you are, I always like to touch on family or something personal so that we can get to know you a little bit better. I know that you have 3 kiddos.
Yep, 3 kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us how old they are, what they're kind of generally up to.
I have a 23-year-old who's an esthetician. I'm so proud of her.
Awesome. My sister's an esthetician.
Really?
Yeah.
And does she lecture you about your skincare too?
Yes, all the time.
Oh my gosh. She's like, Mom, did you put your sunscreen on?
Yeah.
You know? Yes. What are you using to wash your face these days?
Why haven't you been in for a facial? Yes.
Right. Yes. Yeah. But also she is in nursing school now.
Okay.
So I'm really proud of her. She's done the adulting thing, and now she's back in school.
That's amazing.
And just is a really great person. Her name is Sally. She's named after my grandma.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that name. And then you have 2 others.
Yep. And then Emma is my opera singer, and she's in college studying opera performance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's so cool.
Yeah. She has so much fun. Her junior recital is coming up. We're going to go up there, and the spotlight will be on her. And that's so fun. I'm so proud of her. And Max is my youngest, and he just graduated from high school.
Okay.
He's taking a gap year and baking for the year. He's working at a bakery.
Okay.
So yeah.
Baking.
Yes.
Whoa, that's way more fun than banking.
Not banking.
Yeah.
No, he would not be interested in that.
I love that. Okay.
I had my birthday last week, and I came home to a dozen beautiful lemon cupcakes with like the dollop of frosting that you just love so much.
That's amazing.
And I was like, I'd been eating very carefully ever since the holidays. And I was like, throw that out the window, and I ate 2.
I know we could spend a lot of time on this, but I want to save time to talk about the dentistry aspect of what you do and what you're passionate about. But what has been, I don't know, one of your greatest joys parenting teenagers? I have a 17-year-old and a 13-year-old, so I know I have a pretty good grasp on there are tons of highs and lows.
Yes.
But what has been I don't know, like a joyful thing?
It's just like those moments when you see that they're becoming amazing people of their own, you know, like when you see them do something that you didn't push them to do.
Yes.
And they're jumping into their passion, their talent, or even just responsibility. Like you come home and they cleaned the kitchen and you didn't ask them to, you know?
That's a big one. Has that happened for you?
Yes.
Okay. You'll have to tell me later.
One of them came home and they were like, Mom, my roommate will not pick up after herself. And I was like, this feels so appropriate.
Right. That's so funny.
So yeah, it's just seeing them become their people, who they're going to be. And then sometimes, like in precious moments, they'll give you a little bit of credit. Like I was reading my daughter's scholarship application last night, and she goes, and I just want to talk about my mom for a minute, and said some really nice things. And it's like, wow, that's my little human there. And now she's her own person, but she became this amazing person.
I love that.
Yeah.
And mamas, and as parents, we're like advocates for our kiddos.
Correct.
You know?
Yes.
And I consider that such an honor. And I know that you do too.
And it's hard because you want to do everything for them and like smooth out the way.
Yes.
But then when you don't and you let them build their own muscles, it's like, wow. Right. Have you had that experience?
Yes, completely. Especially we're interviewing colleges right now. Caden's in the middle of ACT and SATs and like all the things. It's like having another job, helping him through all of this. And his local school district, they do this whole senior seminar project. So he's He's actually shadowing 2 practices this summer, and it's just a lot to help him with. And some of it I've had to really just step back and go, hey, I've told you, here's the roadmap. I can't make you do these things. I can't make you keep your GPA up to a certain level. You know, you have to choose how you spend your time and eventually learn by probably falling down a few times.
Is he, these practices he's shadowing, is he going to go to dental school?
So he's very interested. I mean, not like 100%, but yes, this will give him, he's going to shadow a cosmetic dentist and then a GP. And so it will give him just a really great inside view into the clinical aspect, the business aspect. They're both well run. And so it's going to be a great experience for him for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's move into one of the other roles that you play. You have now been a practice owner in Marion, Iowa for 15 years. Now, was this a startup practice?
No, it was more of a legacy practice. It's been existing since the 60s.
Okay.
And I'm the 4th owner.
Okay, awesome. And I love that you have a passion for cosmetic dentistry. I know that earlier I was showing you, I had my braces off on my uppers. I still have my lowers, but so I'm in the middle of my treatment plan. And I'm excited for the finish line. It's amazing how gifting someone with a beautiful smile can literally change their life.
Correct.
So do you get excited every time someone completes their smile transformation successfully? I would think as a dentist, it's like a dopamine hit. I don't know.
It's a total dopamine hit.
Okay.
That's a great way to put it. It's like, it's really satisfying to do a nice crown or a nice filling for someone in your own way. Like, oh, I sewed this blanket or whatever. But when you change someone's smile to what they wanted, you changed how they communicate with everybody, right?
Yes.
And it's so satisfying to look at the before and the after. And whenever we're done, we walk up to this mirror in the hallway that's got a lighted frame. And we look together at the final product, and there's always tears.
Oh, yeah.
There's always tears because you just created that moment that changes everything for them. Smiles are so important.
So important.
Yes.
And I think there's such a psychological toll that happens when you're trying to hide a smile you're not proud of.
Yes.
Or hide imperfections in your teeth that are embarrassing to you.
It's more than just, so there's what you're thinking about yourself, and then there's how you're portraying yourself to other people when you're simply trying to hide what's there.
Yeah.
But then you're hiding the way you feel towards that person.
Yes.
And so then they don't know how you really feel.
Yes.
Because you're ashamed of your own thing, right?
Right.
So giving someone the relief of not having to hide that anymore is huge, and it's definitely one of the most satisfying parts of being a dentist.
It's so empowering. I love it. So I personally know that juggling entrepreneurship, being married to a business owner, and being a mother is very challenging. And I want to tell me about how being a practice owner began creating overwhelming stress in your life, like in the early stages of you stepping into that role.
Well, is it okay if I say coachy things?
Totally.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is where my perspective of how brains work in my study as a life coach and my experience living through it, plus talking to so many other women who own practices, really comes together because it's so easy for me now to see how this dream and this excitement and this new beginning quickly became a very uncomfortable roller coaster. Okay, so like you think, oh, I'm going to be a dentist because I can choose my own hours and I can choose who works for me, and there's this dream, and the dream is real, and it can happen, but your brain, which is programmed by eons of evolution to look for problems and to see those as a physical threat to your body, you encounter problems you didn't expect, like maybe your fees are capped because you're in network with a bunch of insurance companies, or your employee isn't coming to work, or your hygienist quits, or you're literally just worried about making payroll every time, right? And these types of thoughts that are running through your brain, they started because your brain was helping you look for potential problems. to try to protect your organism, but they become painful habits that create the neurotransmitters and the hormones that tell you your body is in danger and that you need to fix it, and you just worry and you worry and you worry. And that happened to me a lot. And it's interesting because the more successful my practice got, the more I was collecting, the worse I felt.
Yeah.
And it got to the point, 2017, 2018, I was collecting a massive amount of money for one dentist.
Yeah.
But I would have to do like deep breathing to be able to come into the practice every day, tell myself, you can do this, Laura, you know, because I'd be on roller skates and, you know, maybe this person's unhappy, or 20 people are happy and one's unhappy, and your brain goes and just revisits that over and over again. And that can get exhausting. So.
Yeah. Well, and chronic stress and burnout is a very real thing in our world, especially among high achieving women. But instead of staying curled up in the fetal position on the floor, or, you know, just kind of giving up, you decided to do something different. So I'd love to talk a little bit about, you know, have you personally used a life coach?
Yes.
Okay.
That's how it started.
Is that how it started? Tell us for a minute about that.
I learned about a kind of life coaching called causal coaching, which is when you look at why you're acting in a way that you weren't intending to act, or why you're feeling something that you weren't intending to feel. And what I found out was, and it was humbling to learn this, but what I found out is that the stress and overwhelm that I was feeling came from me, which is very hard to look at because you want to make it external. You want to make it, well, it's this that's happening, or it's this mean bank charging me this big interest rate, or it's this mean insurance company, and that's what's making my stress. But actually, my stress comes from my hormones and my nervous system. Yeah, it's just biology.
So true.
Yeah, and and my brain tells me what to do. It brings in the information in my environment, turns it into meaning, and then my body goes, okay, we need to feel this. Okay. And
it's how we're interpreting.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. And the interpret becomes, it's automatic and it's habitual. So we can actually interpret things differently if we choose to, which is causal coaching. It's looking at a fact and it's turning it around and going, well, I could look at it this way, I could look at it this way, I could look at it this way. If I look at it the way I have been looking at it, then I feel X. Then I feel stress and overwhelm. But I want to keep this fact the same and turn it around and feel something different and do something different. I learned that my practice didn't have to be the stress monster that it was. And once I learned that, it changed everything in my practice so that I literally love going there.
Wow.
And because of that, I realized that other people were probably going to need that information. And that's how I decided to become
you're not
a coach.
the only one.
Correct. Yeah. I'm like everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Dentist or not. Yes.
Yeah, that's true. Everybody could use some help in that.
So tell us the heart and soul behind the creation of Love Your Practice and how it helps women dental professionals.
Yeah. So Love Your Practice is the name of my coaching practice, right? And so I can bring in any woman who basically, it's usually a woman who has a successful practice. It's not for someone who's struggling financially. That's a different set of problems. This is someone who has it all and is stressed out and overwhelmed, waking up in the middle of the night with worries about the practice, stressed about team, stressed about her clinical skills, because a lot of us carry a bunch of shame around our ability to do the dentistry. They come in, we meet for about 6 months, and I teach them the principles of causal coaching. I teach them how to recognize what emotions they're even making in their bodies in the first place. And then we just look matter-of-factly at the conditions in their practice and decide how we want to feel so that we will take the actions we would intend to take. Because if you're feeling stressed, you don't take the actions that you intend to take. You hide from it, you buffer from it. You go home and you watch Netflix or eat ice cream or have 3 glasses of wine. Ask me how I know.
Yeah.
Okay. So
It's so true.
I know.
Yeah.
So
We can comfort ourselves.
I know.
And numb it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we numb it. We numb it out because we don't know how to get rid of it otherwise.
Yeah.
Because the brain is in charge as an organ.
Yeah.
Not as your soul.
Right.
As an organ. Your brain is going poke, poke, poke. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad.
Yeah.
And I empower women to stop that poking.
Wow.
And to think about something better.
What life changes have your clients experienced working with you?
Well, there's a lot of them. First of all, it helps. You can lead so much better when you like going to work.
Yeah.
And if you're leading better, then you have better employee retention. Mm-hmm. You actually bring in more dollars because you're not hurriedly treatment planning.
Yeah.
Right? So there's financial success that comes from proper coaching. Mm-hmm. And there's better interpersonal relationships with your mom or your in-laws or your spouse, your children. Once you aren't giving away your power for how you feel to everybody else, mm-hmm. you can be so much more calm. You can be so much more confident. You don't have to make people do what you want in order to feel the way you want.
Yeah.
So it changes everything.
Oh, yeah.
It really does.
Wow. Can I work with you?
Of course.
So tell me, what does the future look like for Dr. Laura Mach? Tell us what you envision and what feels exciting this year.
Are we talking about my dental practice?
We totally can. Whatever feels exciting or that you're kind of is on your heart and mind.
Well, my practice just recently shifted to fee for service completely.
Congratulations.
Like, thank you.
Wow, that's a big deal.
They pay when they come in.
Yeah.
They say thank you. We have sifted through, and the only patients who are left are the ones who genuinely want to be there, which is such a glorious change mm-hmm. because everybody is thankful and nice. And they listen, right? Mm-hmm. They don't doubt you when they're there because they choose to with their own pocketbook and their own calendar.
Yeah.
So between that and the fact that I've really niched into some very specific skills that a lot of people, most dentists in my area cannot do, I really see my practice becoming like my little kingdom where I just waltz in, I save some teeth, I do the thing. Everybody says thank you. I thank my team for spoiling my patients and go home and do the rest of my life. And I do that 3 days a week.
Okay.
So I have, the dentisting part of my week, and then I have the coaching part of my week. And for the coaching practice, I just see continuing to reach more women. Mm-hmm. It's a challenge to get their eyeballs. Yeah. And then to gain their trust enough to commit. I think it's actually harder for them to commit to the time than it is the dollars, that they have to commit 6 months to themselves.
Awesome.
So I see helping more women in that as well. So
that's so incredible. So before we go, what are some last words of encouragement that you can share with the audience of dental professionals, probably mostly women, listening to this
mm-hmm.
episode?
Mm-hmm. You can practice your dental art the way you want to a lot more than you think. Like a lot of us think that we are wearing golden handcuffs and we can't change our relationship with insurance or we can't change our hours or we can't change the procedures that we do because there's all these expectations. Mm-hmm. Like as women, we are culturized, I made that word up, to make everybody else happy. Mm. But if you make yourself happy first mm-hmm. and you run that practice the way you dreamed it would be or the way you want it to be now, it will work. You can do it. And if someone's not happy with you in that, are you just going to try to keep bending for them? Or maybe they need to go find a new opportunity, a new dentist, a new boss or whatever. And you stay in line with your own values, your own dreams, and that will be the way that it works out the best. And I promise you, those things that you're telling yourself that you can't do, it's just your brain going boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, poking, right?
You can do it. Yeah, it's your brain poking.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I cannot thank you enough for just taking the time to share your story and your heart with us, and for being on the Story Project podcast, Dr. Laura Mach. If people want to follow you and stay in touch, what's the best place to do that?
They can visit my Instagram. It's at Dr. Laura Mach, DDS.
Okay.
Or they can just find my website. It's loveyourpractice.net. And my podcast is the same. It's Love Your Practice. And that's like, if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, her voice really is kind of soothing. I have 80 episodes that you can go listen to that and go soothe yourself.
80 episodes and just walk away feeling like empowered and calm.
Exactly.
Right? And get their brain to stop poking.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Well, also thank you for coming to Studio 88 in Columbus, Ohio, for trusting us to capture amazing custom photography and video. We are just thrilled to have you here, and this is your special day. So yeah, thank you for being here and just having this conversation with me.
Yeah, I'm having a blast. If anyone's thinking about coming here, it's super fun.
Good. Awesome. Well, I love this amazing tribe of people in dentistry willing to share their stories. Let's be fearless together this week. See you guys later.